Where are we?
Power strength and breath.
Oh, okay. So really good power, really good breath control, I thought. So I actually gave you an 8.8 for that. Yeah, I mean, you're really selling it. You know, you knew what you were doing, and I could definitely see you sending that energy. So I thought you did pretty well.
Oh, okay. So this is where I just where I'm going to be a little bit off. I gave you an 8.3 on the. Your strength and breath were good, but the power, it wasn't consistent to me. Like your first punch, I didn't see or feel the power. When you're pushing bonks out, I saw the power. On your kicks, I didn't see the power. I didn't see, on your arm break, I didn't see the power. I saw movements. They were clean. They were nice. But I didn't see power. I didn't believe they were going to hurt anything.
So there should be power in all of them, or some of them it's about keeping in touch.
This is where the interpretation.
This is where the interpretation comes in. But this is in terms of that was your punch. I didn't see power. I saw a punch, but I didn't see a nice power. I didn't see a good snap. I didn't see. Yeah, it wasn't
crisp.
There was a kick, but it wasn't crisp. There was. Yeah, that's a perfect word. There was a crispness looking for it that I didn't see.
Now for the kicks, it's about strength, right? So slow.
But there's no. That's why you can still do a slow kick
And still be crisp.
and still be crisp. We can go to the park and watch Tai Chi guys. All the old Tai Chi people do it, and you'll still see the crispness even though they're going slow. But that's the perfect word. There's a crispness looking to it that wasn't coming through, and so I didn't see or feel the power.
Yeah, I gave you like 8.5, 8.6. The reason being is I think if you think about it, if you're doing an attack, it should look like an attack. You know what I mean? So I can understand some folks are slow for reasons, for muscle memory and getting in touch with your chi and stuff. But kind of like Jason said, if you're doing an attack, it should look like an attack. You know what I mean? Some schools might interpret it the bonks out to be maybe a defensive move, to be slow and guide, and some schools might interpret it as an attack. You know what I mean? So it depends. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's kind of like you're telling us, this is my attack. You know what I mean? But some schools if they did it slow, then it's then obviously it's gonna be a guiding move, right? But then the punch, somewhere your punch, your kicks, just kind of think it that way. If it's an attack, then treat it like an attack. Yeah. So I give you an 8.5. Yeah, 8.5.
Well, I was kind. I actually gave you an 8.8, which was slightly over the average. And the reason was I thought that the main part of what I felt by watching your second set was there was power and strength, because you kind of work it in a power and strength way. And even though, regardless of all these other comments we've made up till now, you can tell you're a strong guy, you work it in a strong way. So I didn't necessarily see power and strength lacking. Breath, I didn't notice a positive or a negative, but I didn't see anything that would have made me push it to an 8.9 or anything. I just thought you were, based on what I saw, I thought you were a little bit better than the average. And if we're describing average as 8.7, I popped it up a little over that. But I had some of the same comments that everybody else has had. So maybe I was just kind in your score.
So on that note, right, the next one, the flow transition, because you showed that power, you also did a lot of winding up, like Hui was just saying earlier. Yeah, exactly. That's the extreme of it. But I did see a lot of winding up. So that actually interrupted the flow. Because instead of, like Hui was just demonstrating that, you want the transition to be really smooth and the power there, but because you wound up, it broke that flow slightly. So, anyway, so what did I give you? I gave you an 8.5 for that.
I gave you an 8.5 as well. Same thing.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah, so don't think about cocking, don't think about sending the power, just from your position, send it from there. Yeah.
And I said the same thing, 8-5, slight hesitation. You got some slight hesitation as the broke the flow.
Mada, did you want to say something? Sorry.
No,
I tried to push you on. Okay. Yeah, same thing. I mean, that was pretty much my point. That transition. Your memorization wasn't a problem. Yeah, so.
So last but not least, right, we're on spirit and focus. Yeah, 8-7, I thought you were good, average. Nothing leapt out to me that, it was good intensity. It wasn't passive, so 8-7, we're in the middle.
8-6. Nothing.
Yeah, same thing, 8-7.
I was 8-5, but there is something I noticed that you may want to think about. Your eyes were sometimes on us, the judges, where you were actually looking at us, and it wasn't like, and sometimes they were on your hands,
Actually,
or they
yeah,
were on your.
now that you mention it, it was actually towards the last third
Right.
of his form that he started glancing down.
You're right.
Now
So you
that
started looking at your feet, and you started looking at your hands instead of looking at us. So I thought in the beginning, and that kind of screwed that focus and concentration, because at the end I noticed instead of, in the beginning you were like doing your set, you're looking at us and everything's cool, but towards the end I started noticing you dropping your eyes and looking at your hand to see if your hand was set in the way you wanted it, or looking at your foot to see if your foot landed in the right place that you wanted it. And so I go, oh, well, so what it did is it told me that, oh, you're not exactly sure. It wasn't 100% sure because you're checking yourself. Whereas in the beginning you were very sure, but at the end you started checking your motions, and you could tell by your eyes dropping to you actual looking at whether or not you were doing it correctly. And that doesn't help.
So what he said.
Yeah. So that's, what do I need to do to improve this portion?
Yes, there it is right there. You just did it. There it is right there. Don't sit there and start looking at your hands to go, oh, because that's what it looked like. You were actually looking at your feet going, oh, is my foot actually going to be dropping over at the correct? So I see you actually do this number and then you come back up and look at us.
Yeah, it was actually, so where I saw it was, the last bit of the second set, right? Your eyes went.
That's exactly it. That's why I know that was one of the glaring points. So you would actually look at yourself and go, oh, is that right? And then you, and then you
so
look back
just,
at,
just try to keep it.
and then you look back at us like, oh, I did it right. Okay. So,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you know, but it's a very general kung fu standard. Like eyes never look at your weapons, hands, right? You never look at like the sword, right? Yeah. So it's very like straight on point. I know for like karate and like Taekwondo it's a little different because you do look at the judges, you're like, look at my power, right? But in kung fu is different. So when you do compete, like it's kind of like chemistry. Yeah, eyes just straight up, like 1 point, 1 focal point. You know? I know it's hard for Chungkyu because we're moving, but as long as you keep it like isolated, then you should be okay. You know what I mean? When I was doing the sword form, when I started, I set my eyes on one of the judges. Like, crap, if I move my eyes, I'm gonna, you know what I mean? I'm gonna get deducted points, right? So as I was doing it, I kept looking at him. You know what I mean? So it was kind of awkward. So when you do look at a point, you just make sure you pick like 1 point. So yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for my point. So
it's just like, I think Jason had it perfect when we're looking at Selim Tao. There's kind of a stone-faced gaze that happens that you neither change that gaze. It just is a very set gaze from the beginning of the set to the end of the set. And it's not like you don't show true emotion, but you show concentration. I can't think of a better word of it, but when you start looking around, it breaks that concentration. It breaks that feeling of focus.
It's the difference between practice and now you're competing. In practice, yeah, go ahead and check and see if you're good. If you're competing, I don't want to see that. I want to see that you already know because you practice it enough that you already automatically know that this is where it's supposed to go. Like who said, you sell the shit out of it and won't believe it. Right. So if you sell that your foot's going to be way over here or way close, and you just keep it consistent and say this is the way I do it and it's perfect and it's right, we'll believe it. But if you're going, yeah, then we're going to say no. If you show us something to make us say no, then we're gonna believe no. If you show us something to make us say yes, we'll believe yes.
And also, no matter what, all of us scored around the same.
Yeah, I
So
think that
even-
this was a great calibration,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
We're all,
all of us scored around the same, so no matter what the comments were, we all felt the same way about the way the set looked overall, if that makes sense. I know you're looking for little things so you can improve, but I think generally all of us kind of, just a few things, if you just a little more concentration, a little more practice in the movement, like Jason said, so we don't see that hesitation. And maybe it wasn't a hesitation, just by looking down, we perceived it as a hesitation, when in fact maybe it was just a matter of you just keeping a good steady gaze. So those are things to think about.